all the time. And I guess what I wanted to, and what this meditation that we're going to do is all about, is the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that the body is not personal. Our diabetes is not personal. Diabetes is just something happening in our presence. We are not the diabetes. And the body even is just a vehicle. It's not who we are. Our thoughts about diabetes are not necessarily, we are not our thoughts, right? We identify with our thoughts. We take our thoughts seriously, but our thoughts are not who we are. So this meditation that we're going to do is actually about depersonalization. It's depersonalizing our experiences and starting to see that the experiences that we're having are, it's all just happening, right? Creation is just happening. Everything's just happening. The body's taking care of everything. Sometimes the body's imperfect. Our pancreases don't work as they should, and that's not personal. That's just happening. And so the thoughts that we have about that, we can either take that experience very personally and feel very affected by it, and that limits our ability to accept it. But if we can depersonalize our experience in that moment, then maybe we can find a way to embrace it more and say, okay, this is just the body doing the body's thing, and it's not personal, and it's annoying, and it's frustrating, and it's challenging, but I can also see it's in a continuum, right? Things are going to be changing all the time. So specifically looking at our thoughts around our experiences and our reactions and our responses, if you try to hang on to one thought, like in this moment, if you just think about a thought and you try to hang on to it, like don't let it go anywhere, it's very hard, right? The thought is just immediately going to disappear. So when we have that experience of repetitive thinking, right, where we keep going through the same thought over and over, it often happens when we're trying to fall asleep at night, and then there's this thought going round and round in our heads. Actually, literally tell yourself, no, okay, I'm going to hang on to that thought, and force it to stay with you. And in that moment, you'll realize, the next thought will come, and the next thought will come. So thoughts are constantly changing, and no thought is more or less relevant than any other. Thoughts are literally the name for an object. So you experience something, and then a thought comes to label that experience, that thing, that feeling, right? So how many thoughts do we have, right? Because how many experiences have we had? In fact, if you had the biggest pen and the biggest piece of paper, and you tried to write down every single thought you've ever had in your whole life, can you imagine how long you would be writing? You couldn't, right? You couldn't even catch all those thoughts. So we choose to hang on to a thought, to label a thought, to get involved with a thought, to travel down that thought till it finds its address, because every thought has an address. But what we can do is we can start to see those thoughts like a screensaver. They are reminding you that you're awake. You know how when you're on the computer, and for a while maybe the computer goes idle, and then the screensaver comes up to just let you know the computer's still working. Well, think of your thoughts like that. Your thoughts are like coming up and going like a screensaver. And then when you're dreaming at night, those thoughts are still going, right? Those thoughts are making up stories based on thoughts that are maybe unresolved from the day. So our whole world is thoughts. And we get fixated like on a diabetes thought or a thought that we're worried about. But if you can see them as just coming and going, depersonalizing yourself from the thoughts, it becomes much easier to face those challenging thoughts. So when we practice any kind of meditation, because I know this is the Diabetes Sangha and we're meditating hopefully every day with all the different offerings that we have here in the Sangha, Notice how when you are able to quiet your body and quiet your mind, that the experience of thinking is much more lucid, right? You can actually see, oh, that's a thought, or you can catch yourself getting lost in a thought. So something you can do every day to catch your thoughts is when you wake up in the morning, see if you can catch your first thought. Now, your first thought might be, oh, I've got to check my blood sugar, or, oh, I've got to go to the toilet, right? Catch that thought and go, okay, I see that I'm having a thought. That's all you need to do. Oh, I'm having a thought. And then it gets easier throughout the day to catch yourself, getting lost in thoughts, getting involved in your thoughts. So that's one really simple thing you can do to start to see how we get involved in our thoughts. And then those challenging thoughts, right? Those thoughts that are more related to intolerance, frustration, right? Those are kind of thoughts that have become emotions, because every thought, every emotion starts with a thought. So an emotion is just a thought that we have some sort of investment in or some sort of weakness for. So the emotion always follows the thought. So if you can catch yourself at the thought, at level of the thought, and start to hold that thought and try and hang on to the thought and notice how the thought just naturally dissipates, then the emotion that's associated with that thought might be a little less sticky, right? Because the emotions tend to stick to us once we're in them. So catching it at the level of the thought. And so your meditation practice that you're doing is helping you with that. It's giving you a sense of distance. It's taking us from a very active brainwave state, which is the beta brainwave state. And some of us, when we're in the middle of a low or a high, or the craziness of our lives, it's a high beta brainwave. All of that starts to slow down, and we go into what's called the alpha brainwave state. And that's really where you start to feel like your tongue is sort of dropping in your palate or floating up to the roof of your mouth. You might even start to drool a little bit. You kind of feel like you're in meditation, but you're kind of falling asleep, right? That's the alpha brainwave state. And that's actually a very healing state. It's a very calming state. The body, the nervous system starts to calm down. The brain starts to relax. And that's where we can be very aware of our thoughts, right? Watching the thoughts. Often it's described as witness, the witness. But who is that witness? That's the big question. Like, we call it the witness, but who is it? It's actually that peaceful feeling, that calm feeling. That's actually the nature of who you are. So it's who you are. You actually are that peace. You are that calm. And the thoughts are tools to help us transact in the world. If we don't have memories, if we don't have experiences, if we don't have things happening in our lives, we can't actually relate to others. We can't live in this creation, this relative world. So we need our thoughts. Our thoughts are not bad. There's not bad thoughts and good thoughts. Thoughts are innocent. It's what we do with a thought. And I'll finish before we move into the meditation with this very simple thought, which is that, if you have something like a knife in your hand, in the hands of a surgeon, right? A knife is saving someone's life. In the hands of a not so nice person, the knife is a tool which harms life, right? And we can even think about that, about all sorts of medications or anything, right? That if used correctly, it saves our life. Used incorrectly, it harms our life. So it's the same with a thought. Think of a thought like a tool, If we understand the nature of thought and we're able to see ourselves working with thoughts, then those thoughts are creative tools. But if we're if we're not aware that we think we are our thoughts, right? If we're not aware that the thought, if let's just say it this way, if the thought has gotten a hold of you and you're completely unconsciously lost in your thoughts, not awake to your thoughts, but lost in your thoughts, then those thoughts become very challenging, right? So the goal in any kind of spiritual practice or insight practice is to wake up to the thinker, the one who's having the thought. And so this meditation that we're going to do right now is all about waking up to the thinker, recognizing that the one thinking is the nature of peace, is the nature of calm, is the nature of bliss, whatever you want to call it. So let's get comfortable. And we're going to start just by bringing our four fingers underneath our armpits and letting our elbows drop. And I hope you can still hear me. And just close your eyes. And just see if you can feel your breath expanding into the left and right sides of your chest. Noticing your breath right now. Maybe you can even sense the breath traveling in and out through your nostrils. But really focus on the feeling of the breath expanding into the left and right palms of your hands. So this is called breath balancing pose, and it balances the left and right sides of the brain, balancing between the active part of our nervous system and the passive part of our nervous system. And you don't have to take big, deep breaths. It can be very gentle, very calm. And then when you feel that you're a little bit more relaxed than you were when we started the session, you can just bring your hands down, keep your eyes closed. So this meditation is from the tradition of Vedanta. Vedanta means the end of knowledge, which the knowledge that resolves in you as you. And it begins with a visualization and then a guided relaxation. So imagine that you're gazing at a vast range of mountains. It might be a range that's familiar to you, or it might be an imagined range. But just take a moment to notice the range of mountains, the sky beyond. Maybe there's high peaks and low peaks. And just bearing in mind that it's in the distance. Try and keep your attention on the mountains. You might even like to think about whether it's dawn or dusk. And then visualize that in front of this mountain range is a beautiful, calm, clear lake. Perhaps the lake is at the base of the mountains or just a little bit in front. Again, noticing the time of day, the ripples, on the lake. Still seeing the mountain range and seeing the lake. And like a drone zooming out, in front of the lake, you see animals. All kinds of different animals grazing on the plains in front of the lake. Just notice which animals come to you. Maybe the animals are dependent on the scenery, the country. Just noticing the different animals. And still imagining the mountains, the lake, and the animals in front of the lake. And zooming out a little bit further, zooming out until you just see people. People moving in front of you, walking, talking. Just people, maybe a crowd of people. Still being aware that there's the mountains, the lake, the animals, and the people. All very impersonal, just people. Men, women, children, old age, young age. Maybe they're picnicking. Maybe they're walking. Maybe they're enjoying being on the lake. Maybe they're interacting with the animals. And then notice that you're zooming in on one particular form, one person. And you recognize this person as Father. A father. Maybe it's your father, but it's Father. Think for a moment about the role of Father. How does Father behave? How does Father look? What does Father do? So take a moment to depersonalize the role of Father. It's just Father. Father is needed to create a child. Father is a role model. And then focus on a female figure, Mother. What is the role of Mother? What does Mother do? Mother is needed, like Father, to create a child. Mother is what to you. Let the words, the thoughts emerge in relationship to mother. But at the same time, depersonalize. Rather than making it about your mother, it's just mother. And then focus on your own hands and bring your fingertips to touch, your little finger, your ring finger, your middle finger, your index finger, and your thumb. Just holding them in your lap or wherever's comfortable. This is a mudra called Hakini Mudra. And then focus on the right side of your own face. Notice the sensations. If it's not comfortable to touch all the fingertips, you can also rest the hands in your lap with just the thumbs touching. And then just be aware of the right side of your face, your nose, your cheeks, your ear, your chin. Maybe you can even sense your hair. Feel the right side of your neck. Imagine your collarbone, your shoulder, your shoulder blade, your upper arm, your elbow, your forearm, your wrist. And traveling down from your upper body to your waist, all on the right side of your body. Down your buttocks, your leg, your knee, calf muscle, shin, ankle, right foot, and all 5 toes. The whole right side of the body, just aware of it. And then become aware of the left side of your body, starting with your left side of your face. Starting with your head, your left eye, maybe your left ear, left cheek, left chin. Traveling down the left side of your neck to your collarbone, tip of the shoulder, shoulder blade. Maybe traveling down the upper arm to the elbow, forearm, wrist, hand. Whole left side of the body down to the waist. Coming into your left buttock, left thigh, left knee, left shin, calf muscle, foot, all the way down to your toes. And then visualize those two halves as one, the whole body in the space. So it's just a body. I call it my body, but is it my body? Or is it just another aspect of creation, inseparably part of creation? This body cannot leave creation, made of the elements, earth, water, fire, air, space. Body just is. Now focus on your thoughts. Any thought. Maybe there's a thought in relationship to your body. See if you can hang on to a thought. Notice how even the thought, it's not personal. So many random thoughts come and go. Keep trying to see or catch a thought. Any thought. And then be aware of you having the thought, the one having the thought. The one who says, I'm having a thought. Who's that? Can you see that? Even this idea I have of myself, is that personal? Where does it come from? Can I make it go away? No. The one having the thought is always there, conscious. Can you stop being conscious? Try. Try right now to stop being conscious. Something's always there, permanent, still. Now focus on the whole creation, the mountain, the lake, the animals, the people, mother, father, this body, these thoughts, this sense of I. Can you let everything just be as it is? See it all as it is? Creation just is. All the mountains, the lakes, the rivers, the trees, the insects, the birds, the animals, the people, this body, these thoughts, this sense of I, everything just is. All just happening in my presence. Can I accept everything as it is without needing it to be any different? The experiences all around me, in me and through me. Can I find acceptance? Just accept. It's not happening to me. It's just happening spontaneously as creation does. Did the creation just suddenly exist because I exist? Or has the creation been going on endlessly for eons, just as it is, regardless of how I engage with it, how I think, what I think, how I think things should be? Can I just see everything as it is? Now gently come back to your breath, just noticing your inhalation and your exhalation. Maybe you want to let your tongue rest on the roof of your mouth. And then let's bring our hands to our shoulders, and we'll just slide our hands to each other down the arms, just to bring a little bit more awareness back to this beautiful vehicle, our body. And then we can slide the hands down the front and over the legs, even along the back, over the legs. Just coming back, being aware that even though we're inseparably part of creation, this is our unique way to express ourselves in this beautiful world through this body, through this sense of I. And just notice how you feel right now. And when you're ready, just opening the eyes and coming back. So if anyone feels like sharing, I'd love to finish our sessions with a little bit of a share. Maybe we want to turn off the recording so that, yeah, it's anything anyone wants to